Welcome to the F1Stop show. I'm your host, Sam Oney, and with me online is Wes Spearman. Wes, how are you today?
Yeah, I'm pretty good. Had a half day off at work today, which is quite nice. Yeah, nice to have lunch and then pretty much just go home. So that's not too bad. But yeah, I'm all good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, I'm great, thank you. Um, F1 is back again after, 2 weeks away? After the events of Monaco, we are now traveling all the way to the Middle East? Middle East?
Ish.
Ish?
Sort of yeah, midway between Europe and Asia.
Yeah,
There's still some debate as whether that part, the Caucasus region, I think it's called, is whether it's Europe, whether it's Asia. Personally, I think it's just about Asia. It's not quite Europe, but yeah, I can see I can see arguments either way.
yeah. Anyway, myself and Wes have teleported all the way to Baku because it's the Azerbaijan Grand Prix this weekend. And I saw on social media by Ferrari, looking at their graphic, they've called it the land of fire. I don't know exactly what they mean by that, but they call it the land of fire. So let's get into it then. So Azerbaijan, round eight, is known for its, well, I'd say very tactical circuit, maybe, especially with the turns and the corners. I think,
Uh,
go on.
yeah, sorry. um, so yeah, certainly, I think it's the middle section where I suppose more known as the castle section. I think it's turn eight. I think
Yeah,
um, where you've got a lot of sort of 90-degree corners because it is a street circuit. It is on streets where you have like T junctions, crossroads, etc. So naturally, the corners are at 90 degrees, and certainly the first section is quite sort of boxy, if you like. Um, yeah, once you get in, I'm pretty sure it's turn eight, the castle section, where it just gets so narrow, and I'd be interested to see how the cars fare with that, given how much wider and bigger they are this year. Because we're certainly not going to see any. Well, we shouldn't see any overtaking and going up the castle. Be interested to see if they take a slightly different line to previous years. Um, but other than that, I think Baku is, with the exception of the first year when it was the European Grand Prix, every single Azerbaijan Grand Prix, as have been known since, it's just always thrown up something.
yeah,
It's always some controversy, some event that happens in the Grand Prix that's led to. I mean, no one's won it twice for starters in the 5 6 years it's been run. Obviously, 20 skip out 2020. Um, it's an intriguing circuit because that first year in 2016 it was just so dull, but ever since then it's just been arguably one of the best Grand Prix, one of the most entertaining Grand Prix on the calendar. And I'm still not quite sure why, because as a track, it's a little bit technical, I suppose, especially in that middle section as I mentioned. But besides that, is a lot of 90-degree corners, not really too many overtaking points, but that back straight is quite literally miles long, I think, actually. Um, so yeah, it's just a massive DRS train, and be interested to see how that sort of takes into shape, how that pans out really as the Grand Prix plays out.
yeah. And you mentioned something about the Azerbaijan Grand Prix being very predictable. Like, sorry, does that make sense?
Unpredictable, the opposite.
Yeah, the opposite. Sorry, yeah. You never know what's gonna happen in Baku, and like you said, you know, it made its debut in 2016. So, did you know that since its debut in 2016, Azerbaijan has produced five different race winners, five different fastest lap fastest lappers, and I believe five different pole sitters as well. So we've never had a repeat driver in any of those years. So,
I mean, Max
what do you make of
Verstappen's
it?
never won it as well. Verstappen's never won it as well. I think he's only finished two Azerbaijan year Baku Grand Prix. He's got obviously had the DNF last year when his tire blew out. He had a DNF in 2019 where he crashed into Ricardo. 2018, I think he finished fourth or something. I'm not too sure. And he had another DNF somewhere in 16 or 17 as well. Yeah, I mean, last year was just complete chaos, and
Chaos. Yeah.
we obviously the tire blowouts, the tire failures, which shouldn't have happened really, and I'm still not quite sure what the outcome of that sort of investigation inquiry into Pirelli was. They sort of investigated themselves and said, no, this absolutely is fine, or something like that. But it wasn't fine because we had two tire blowouts with no warning whatsoever. But despite that, he had Lewis Hamilton locking up into turn one, pressing that magic button, I think it was on his steering wheel on the restart. Checo Perez getting his first race win for Red Bull. I think Vettel was on the podium. Gasly was on the podium.
Yeah.
I think Perez is the most successful driver at Baku because he had a podium with Force India. I think he had a podium with Racing Point as well. I'm not too sure. And obviously last year won the Grand Prix. So I wouldn't be too surprised if he has another good race, is on that podium again this weekend. I was obviously in a Red Bull again, which does help, being arguably in the best car on the grid, or certainly one of the best cars on the grid. But his record at Baku is something quite quite intriguing, given over the majority of his career has been in a midfield car and has only been in a race winning car for the past season and a bit. So yeah, for him to have, I think it's two podiums and a win. I have to double check that, but it's certainly one podium and one win at Baku, which is, as you mentioned, with five different winners, five different pole sitters, five different fastest laps. Beyond that podium twice is quite a special stat at the moment.
So which brings me to this then. Let's see what's going to happen in Azerbaijan this weekend. So I would say list your predictions of pole sitter, race winner, and driver of the day, but we're not going to do that today. Right. The first one, how many safety cars do you reckon will be released in this race, in this Grand Prix? It's a street circuit, by the way, as you've mentioned.
Yeah, it's a street. I think there'll be at least one. I think for sure, being a street circuit. This is just pure safety car, no VSC or whatever. I'm guessing. I kind of want to go free just because I think two is a bit of a safe. I think two is a bit of a safe bet. I'm going to go free.
Free.
Yeah,
okay.
Just turn it up a notch.
I don't know. Like you said, if saying two, would you say it's playing it safe?
I'd say I think there's definitely going to be one.
Yeah.
But is there going to be more than two? I think is the big question.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna go with. I think I'm gonna play it safe and go with two, only because it is a street circuit, and I do think that if we were to get a red flag, I can't see it happening more than two times. It's gonna have to take something incredibly drastic for them to, bring out three safety cars in one race. Otherwise, we're not gonna get anything. So yeah, then my second one is, your top. Well, I wasn't gonna say top three podiums, but your top five, five race finishes. So top five.
Yeah. Let's go. I think George Russell's got to be in there somewhere.
Okay.
The questions of where really. Let's go. I'm going to go Sainz fifth.
Mm-hmm.
Russell fourth.
Okay.
Perez third. Leclerc second. Verstappen first.
Oh, okay. So you think Perez is going to have back-to-back?
I've been a bit harsh on Perez. I think. I think he'll get on the podium. Yeah, definitely. It's just a case of would he outdrive Verstappen on the day? And I don't think so personally. I think Verstappen is the better driver. Obviously, Red Bull's number one, golden boy, etc. But yeah, Checo's record at Baku is something that something that a lot of other drivers would like and currently don't have. But I just think that with the pace of Ferrari, I mean, if they don't screw up the strategy like we saw in Monaco, I think a Ferrari on the day will be slightly faster than Red Bull. Although having said that, I've put Leclerc second and Verstappen first. Yeah, I just don't. I don't know. I think Perez has been a bit lucky the times he has been on the podium. Yeah, it's great that he's been on the podium, but the times he has been on there has been something has happened in those races, like we mentioned with tyre blowouts, Hamilton locking up last year. I think his first podium there was an actual proper podium, if you like. He just drove a good race and finished third. There wasn't any, or whether that was the race where Vettel and Hamilton, or Vettel drove into Hamilton under the safety car. I can't remember when it was now, when Perez had his first podium at Baku. But I just see Verstappen and Leclerc just edging him out this weekend, and can't quite put a finger on why, but it's my gut feeling.
Okay. All right then. Top 5 finishes in Baku. Right. Number 5, I think this is going to be quite a surprise. Lando Norris in the McLaren. I think last year he finished 4th. He wasn't far from a podium. So I think he might have a decent race, but I think a 5th place will be solid for him. 4th place, I'm gonna say Carlos Sainz. He's been a bit of a, I don't know. He's been all right, but he has had some bumps over the road, this season. I'm not quite sure where he finished last year in Baku. I presume in the top 10, maybe somewhere. You having a check?
Eighth Sainz finished, yeah.
8th, P8.
P8, P8 for Ferrari, yeah.
Okay, so not bad. So yeah, 4th place for him, for the Spaniard. 3rd, I'm gonna say Max Verstappen for 3rd place. I think he'll have a decent race, but I sense you don't agree with me on that one.
I'm just wondering, you've got 2 spots left, and probably at least 3 drivers that can fill those 2 spots. So I'm intrigued to hear the next 2 names that come out your mouth.
Okay, and Max Verstappen for 3rd place. I mean, he's an aggressive driver. He knows how to put in a good performance. My race winner is the one and only Monegasque driver, Charles Leclerc. I think he's had quite a history at Baku before. Maybe did he get pole in 2019 for Ferrari? I believe. Or am I messing it up?
Let's have a look. He got the lap record in 2019
in Baku.
So in Baku, yeah. I'd imagine he got pole then. I can't remember. Let's have a quick look. 2019 Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Who was on pole? It was Valtteri Bottas on pole.
Oh,
2019. Pole position and race victory for Bottas.
Oh, so I'm way off it then. Sorry, but yeah, I think Charles Leclerc will. He didn't have the best race at Monaco, so only finishing 4th, and we don't want to talk about Monaco, especially if you're, Charles Leclerc. But yeah, then you probably know who's going to finish 2nd place, being Sergio Perez. So yeah, that's my top 5.
Can I just? Where's George Russell? He's not in that top 5.
Oh, Oh wow.
Are you
Oh
predicting
goodness.
George Russell to not finish in the top five for the first time this season?
I think so. Yeah. I don't think. Yeah, I think so. It may be. It's quite early as well, round 8. But I think it may. I think this may be the race where Russell doesn't finish in the top 5. P10. Well, no, top 10 for sure. Sorry, yeah, but
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, definitely.
but top 5, I can't see it. So yeah, that's my top 5 for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Another interesting thing I want to start on or talk about is, well, how do you feel about creating your own F1 team? What does it take to create an F1 team?
I mean, it's something that you think about sort of every now and again, and you see things on social media that just like, oh, pick a driver from any era, pick a teammate, team principal, pick a. I think the ones people pick like a car or a livery or something. Um, yeah, there's just so many awesome combinations that you can go with, really. And not anyone's right, not anyone's wrong. I mean, you're wrong if I suppose if you say like Nicholas Latifi and UGE Day or something, just aren't going to get you points whatsoever. Um, yeah, it's an interesting one, and yeah, I've seen various different sort of combination of drivers, of cars, of principles, of whatever. Really, so it'll be interesting to see what we come out with today.
So because I've just found something on Sky Sports F1 Twitter, and mind you, my car livery knowledge is absolutely blank. Like I wouldn't know any. So, but here it is. Right, you need to pick 2 drivers, so first one and second one, plus 1 reserve driver, 1 team principal, and 1 car livery. They can be from any era in F1 history, past, present. There you go. That's all I'm giving you.
Mm. Interesting. I mean, a lot of the ones I've seen have gone quite modern. People saying like Hamilton, Vettel, Schumacher, which I can obviously understand. Um, but looking back, you've just got so many great drivers throughout history, throughout the last 72, 73 years of Formula One. And yes, Hamilton, Schumacher, Vettel are some of the greats of F1, but I don't know. I suppose you can't really compare eras, which is what a lot of people try and do. Um, but I think my the 2 drivers that are nowhere near the modern era whatsoever, but I just think are two. I mean, one of them is statistically, I think, the best in terms of percentage wins to races or whatever, and that would be Jim Clark. I think he's
That's a huge
one
name.
time, I can't remember if he was the single or double world champion, but ruled F1 in the 1960s. Um, I think he was sadly killed at Hockenheim. Can't remember if it was during a Grand Prix or another race event that wasn't Formula One. Yeah, sadly died a lot younger than he should have. But he would be one of them, and the other one would be Juan Manuel Fangio, the original goat, if you like, of Formula One. 5 world titles. He held that record for about 40 years, I think. Um, I think he won, I can't remember the years he won it, but I think it was pretty much from 51 to 56, 57, with
Yeah, I
a
think
year
so.
out somewhere. Um, yeah, I mean, Schumacher to break that only in, oh, I can't remember now, 2003, 2004, I think, when he won his 6th world title. Um, yeah, so for Fangio to hold that record for that amount of time and to be that good, I mean, yes, it's the early days of F1. Yes, I've never actually seen him race, but statistically, to be that good at Formula One in those early days, I mean, probably lucky to not be killed, first and
Mhm.
foremost, given how dangerous Formula One was back in those days. Um, yeah, when you got, I mean, other great drivers from that era as well. I mean, Alberto Ascari, Nino Farina, can't remember, the first ever world champion. Yeah, I just think Fangio and I think Jim Clark is. I was sort of 50-50 about that, because I mean, when you look to like drivers from the 90s, like your Senna, your Prost, your Schumacher, before that you got Lauda, James Hunt. There's, as I said, there's so many great names that you can include in this team. But I think statistically, Jim Clark is up there with one of the. I'm pretty sure he's got the highest win to race or race to win percentage of all time. And yeah, I don't think that can be looked down, because he's a one-time world champion compared to the likes of, as I've said, Fangio, Vettel, Hamilton, Schumacher, etc. But those are my two drivers. Let's say yours, then we'll move on to the others.
Okay. So I think I'd pick. I think I'd pick Michael Schumacher. I think he was honestly, like you said, he's one of the greatest drivers in F1 history. You've got a lot of names: Ascari, Ryan Baggio. I think, yeah, Jim Clark, like you mentioned. But I think Schumacher to get 91 race wins in Formula One, that's a huge achievement. It means like you have to have the right car and the right people behind you to really get those wins, because that's not easy. That is not easy. I mean, you'll be lucky to even get one, let alone 91.
I mean, only one driver is ahead of it in that aspect, which is obviously Sir Lewis Hamilton. And I think before that, I saw a video quite a number of years ago now, but saying that sort of like F1 records that will never be beaten, and that record of Schumacher's 91 wins was in there. And whoever made that video is probably looking back now and thinking, yeah, I got that one a bit wrong, given how dominant Hamilton has been.
But yeah, Michael Schumacher, brilliant driver, and he's really touched F1 in so many ways, and that's why he's one of my two drivers. I think my second driver would actually be someone from the current grid. So someone from the current grid, and I think just him and Lewis Hamilton, my goodness, those two, and I think Formula One would break. It would completely be destroyed. I mean, if you put one Baggio in there as well, I think that would I think the whole F1 world would break altogether. Boom, a whole explosion. But yeah,
I can't keep hold of the world titles.
can you imagine?
I mean, what? Yeah, 19 world titles in one team. If you had those three,
between the three of those men, my goodness. But yeah, Michael Schumacher, Lewis Hamilton. I mean, that itself, if that's not a partnership, then I don't know what it is. And then a reserve driver. I'll just pick one out of the blue. Let's go with, this is going to be a completely random one with no backing up whatsoever. Let's go with Esteban Ocon. I think he's he's just a driver that everyone loves. He's already got one race win under his belt. Hungary. That was a very good race. But yeah, Lewis Hamilton, Michael Schumacher as my two main drivers, and Esteban Ocon as my reserve driver. So, who's your team principal then? Who's your big boss?
Before that, I'll do a reserve driver, because I don't think I mentioned that.
Oh, go
on. Probably be Ayrton Senna. 4 time, 5? No, not 5. 3 time. 2 times. I can't remember how many world titles he won, but there was at least a couple. I think 3. Well, yeah, one of the greatest drivers of all time. And I think, yeah, would just help the other two develop the car. To know, which I think is pretty much what he did with Williams, with McLaren. Always helping the engineers, similar to Schumacher, I suppose, sort of what Schumacher did as well, sort of always staying behind, helping the mechanics and the engineers just get the most out of their car. And I suppose to some extent what Hamilton is doing now, given that Mercedes are so off the pace, as we mentioned, pretty much week in, week out. Yeah, I think Fangio, Clark, Senna is a formidable driver trio. Yeah, team principle was not my best aspect of knowledge in F1, but I know a few, I suppose more from the modern era. But I think Frank Williams has got to be up there. Toto Wolff potentially as well. I don't know. I'm struggling. And I got a day because we're running out of time now. But I don't know if he was team principal. I mean, he was team principal at his own team, but Ross Brawn is just such a genius in F1 that I can't really look past it too much. When I was growing up watching F1, I mean, yeah, you had, I just about remember sort of Alonso and Raikkonen and Hamilton, sort of 05 to, but 2009, I just remember that season thinking, that is, I mean, first of all, the car was just incredible. The 2009, the only year that Brawn GP is raced in Formula One, and they won the championship. So yeah, for someone to do that is just incredible, and I think he's one of the best brains ever in Formula One. So yeah, I think he'll do a solid job as team principal.
And yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you on that one. I think I would take Ross Brawn as a team principal. I think what he did with his team is just exceptional, really. I can't really say anything more about that. So then, the last one, car livery. My car livery knowledge is not great. So apologies to everyone if I, mess it up on this one. Do you want to go first?
Yeah. Again, just looking back sort of throughout history, there have been so many great deliveries. I mean, going back to Brawn, I think that car was, well, yes, it was basic because they were running on a very tight budget. But I think that car with the white, the black, and sort of neon yellowy green, I think worked really well. The sort of Vodafone and silver McLarens looked awesome in the sort of late 2000s, early 2010s. The Williams of the 90s, your Mansell, your Hill, your Villeneuve, that sort of livery. But I think for me, it would be the black and gold John Player Special Lotus livery. For I think the 70s, maybe the 80s. I can't quite remember now, but it just looks so cool and iconic, if you like. And thinking of iconic, the McLaren MP44, the white and red with the Marlboro sponsorship as well. That's popped into bed as well as another great livery. But I've got to shut up because we're running out of time. But yeah, John Player Special Lotus.
Okay. I think my one, I think I'd go with Mercedes 2013 car, the one that Hamilton won it in 2013.
Yeah, would have been Hamilton. Yeah,
I think that car was just special, and the significance it had with the Mercedes team. Schumacher retired, the year before, and then Hamilton coming in a year later. It just really set the Silver Arrows to where they are today. So I think that would be my livery for my team, to be honest. That's about it. Right.
Sorry, there's a police car just drove past out the window. You probably heard that.
So, one final question before we sign off. There are some amazing F1 tracks, circuits around the world, but we all have our favorites, but we can only have one special favorite. So, last question of the evening. Your favorite F1 circuit, F1 track in the entire world. Just one.
Okay, I'll try not to waffle on too much, but again, there are so many great tracks, iconic tracks out there, pretty much all over the world, really.
Except Monaco.
Wow. Yeah, it's not my favorite. I suppose it's iconic, but yeah, not the best racing. But if I had to pick one, and as much as I like Silverstone, I think I'd have to go Spa, just because I feel there's something special about Spa, whether it be the Eau Rouge Raidillon complex, the fast left-hander with Pouon, but there's just something special in that. I do like watching races at Spa, and even if they're not mightily entertaining, I still enjoy watching them. And I mean, obviously last year was a bit of a farce, really, when had 2 racing laps, and that was that. Well, not even racing laps, but on the safety car. But yeah, for me, there's just something a bit special about Spa, and just the historicness of it, if you like. Plays a huge part in that. So yeah, Spa for me.
Yeah, I won't be too long. Suzuka. My favorite part about Suzuka in Japan is the straight. It's pretty much the straight just before the last 2 turns before you get to the start finish line. I think that's straight. It's just there's just something about it, like the DRS zone, and like just getting all that speed into that straight, and you just having it there. It's just really exciting. Like if I was to get into a race car and just drive down that straight towards the finish line, knowing that the end is in sight, I don't think I'd ever want to leave.
Yeah, it's a great track, Suzuka, and yeah, I mean that straight with the fast left. I think it's called 130R. It's like 130 something radius. I can't remember how exactly why it's called 130R, but it's something along those lines. But it's a great bit of track, and yeah, the whole track is just brilliant as well. The only figure 8 circuit in F1 as well.
Yeah,
got that, the underpass and the bridge on top as well. So interesting fact.
So Azerbaijan Grand Prix this weekend. Last year was chaotic. What will it bring in? What will Baku bring this season in 2022? Well, it remains to be seen. Do remember to follow us on Twitter and Instagram. You can also email us as well. I've been your host, Sam Oni. We hope you've enjoyed this episode. It's a goodbye from me. Bye-bye. And it's a goodbye from Wes.
Bye-bye.
And we hope you enjoy the Azerbaijan Grand Prix this weekend.